Salute, salute. Alright, still got something wrong. Okay. Salute, salute. Shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure you double tapping that screen, guys. Get the likes up. As I get this together. Make sure you double tap. Shout out to y'all. What's up, Chris? My God, what's up, man? We got Marjorie Taylor Greene, man. She back in here. You know what I'm saying? She back in the building. She most definitely still dissing Trump, guys. Says that his threats was what basically made her step down from her position in Congress, guys. She doubled down on it, man. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. What's up, y'all? Shout out to everybody in the building, man. You know what I'm saying? We most definitely in here. Make sure you double tapping that screen, get those likes up. They say, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. I got tired of that lag. That lag had me mad, but I'm back now. Old style, old school. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna work it like we been working it, man. You know what I'm saying? But here goes some words from Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, when it comes to Trump, guys, let's go.
60 Minutes that aired last night, Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is doubling down on her criticism of President Trump and distancing herself from the MAGA brand. Are you MAGA?
She's America first, guys.
The White House responded to Greene's interview there with Leslie Stahl with a statement.
Let's see what the White House said.
As the architect of the MAGA movement, President Trump will always put America first every single day. He is working hard to continue fulfilling the many promises he made and will continue delivering. David Drucker of
Appreciate it,
politically,
Chris.
Well, is he fulfilling the promises he made? I guess yes, on retribution. Yes, on the attempt at least to carry out mass deportations. But what about on the economy and other areas? What do you make of Marjorie Taylor Greene's change here?
Yeah, it's been fascinating. We might have thought it would come from somewhere. We wouldn't have necessarily thought it would come from her. If you remember, Mika, she during the pandemic.
Y'all make sure y'all double tapping that screen. Get the likes up.
Trump is right. Trump is right about everything, and I mean, she was one of his. There's loyalty and there's loyalty. I mean, she was loyal through thick and thin, and I think what we can see here is somebody who feels like that loyalty hasn't been returned, and it hasn't. But she's particularly jilted by it. Look, I've always said that President Trump is sort of a simple man, but a complicated political figure. What motivates him is very simple. Do you like him or do you not like him? Do you criticize him or do you say nice things about him? That's about it. But for a lot of Republican voters who don't necessarily like his behavior or his rhetoric and have told me, I would never say that. I would never behave like that. They've pointed to what they believe is the fact that he's kept his campaign promises. This time around, the economy is not delivering. But if you look inside the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, there are certain tax cut provisions that, though complicated and won't impact everybody, the no tax on tips, things like that, are going to reach some people. And it's something he can point to say, this is what I've done. And so that has bought some goodwill. And look, what the Congresswoman was saying about how Republicans talk about Trump privately, I mean, this has been going on now for 10 plus years. It's just, what do I say every time we wonder if there's going to be some massive break with the president over even just a single policy, right? Not just throwing him overboard, but let's just say, hey, we disagree with you on that. We're just not doing that. And I always say primary season is right around the corner. And it's not that they're afraid of him per se, they're afraid of his voters. The president still maintains a really good relationship with Republican voters, particularly the Republican base, which is kind of, been rebuilt and is more populist under his leadership. And so, there may be an exodus from Congress. People may decide they don't want to go along with everything, but to speak up the way she has, I'd be surprised to see it en masse.
And she most
the people that are saying they want that endorsement, and they certainly don't want an unendorsement heading into next year's primaries.
Yeah, Jonathan Lemire, simple man, but complicated political figure. I also think what's complicated actually is being a supporter of Trump or working for him. That's unbelievably complicated because you do not know what your status is from one moment to the next. And Marjorie Taylor Greene saying what she hears behind closed doors, you and I have both heard that, and from people who are on the right who wouldn't say it publicly.
Oh, absolutely. And the president demands complete loyalty, the loyalty
Right.
one-way street. And I want to pick up just briefly on what David just said there. Maybe it's not, people aren't going to be as outspoken as Marjorie Taylor Greene, but sort of the growing storyline in Washington right now is how many Republicans are going to retire, are going to walk away from their jobs in Congress because of a variety of factors. One, they don't want to be caught crossing President Trump and having to deal with what they're seeing here with Congresswoman Greene. Secondly, just how miserable the experience is. And we've heard complaints about Speaker Johnson, the way he's run the House, where they just simply take orders from the White House and have no real autonomy of their own. I think some Republicans, particularly veteran lawmakers, don't like that dynamic.
Right.
And then lastly, they could read polls. And they see right now Republicans, we're a long way from Election Day. But at this moment, it's looking like it could be a very bad day for the GOP next November's midterms, and they don't want to have to be in the minority. So that's a huge storyline really gaining steam in D.C. We're going to switch.
All right. So that was a little bit of what she had to say during this interview, guys. She most definitely went and gave an interview to 60 Minutes, guys, where she ran down her whole reason, basically for stepping down. And guess what? We got it. Let's see what she said, guys. Marjorie Taylor Greene, in her own words.
Decision.
Death threats, guys. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an unalive threat to her. Direct link to the Epstein files, guys. She most definitely said he was mad about that as well. Guys, if you're in the building, double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device. Or you can click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're looking at Marjorie Taylor Greene interview that she did on why she resigned and the President Trump ties to it, guys. Double tap that screen. Hey, guys, if you just got here, make sure you double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or you can click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. This is everything we're hearing about Marjorie Taylor Greene, her beef with Trump, and basically why she stepped down, guys. Let's get those likes up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new. All right, so that was some of the interview right there, guys, with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And you got to imagine, after some of the things that were said, President Trump didn't like it too much. He most definitely responded. Let's check it out.
Last month, Marjorie Taylor Greene announced that she was leaving Congress. You may remember saying that she had been, quote, cast aside by MAGA previously. She was one of President Trump's biggest supporters, but she fell out with him over the Epstein files, and the president eventually called her Marjorie Traitor Greene. She spoke about that riff with Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes. Well, Greene also said that she blames the president for violent threats against her family and that he has abandoned promises he made to focus on domestic issues over foreign policy. So let us bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian. So, Nicole, this was a wide-ranging interview. Obviously, the Congresswoman also talked about the power the president has over even more moderate Republicans. I know you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, well, broadly speaking, she talked about the president's hold on some Republicans. She claims that some of them kind of talk behind his back, but at the same time, they are presenting this united front, particularly when he decided to run for president last year, that they, these are people who kind of, in one case, weren't supportive of him behind closed doors, but then were in public at campaign events. Take a listen to how she put it to our first time. Now, a short time ago, we did hear from the president responding to this interview, continuing to call Congresswoman Greene, quote, Marjorie Traitor Brown, because he says Greene turns brown under stress. He says that Congresswoman Greene was jilted by the president, and that basically, that is why she kind of said what she said in this interview. But clearly, the president, very critical of this interview, still very critical of Congresswoman Greene. So obviously, there is no healing in their rift as of yet, but certainly the first reaction we've seen from the president since that 60-minute interview.
Yeah, I encourage people to check out that interview on Paramount Plus because it really is really well done. So let me ask you before you go, there's been a shakeup in the Texas Senate race. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right. Well, this is something we're watching later today. We just learned a short time ago that Colin Allred, who is a Democratic candidate or was a Democratic candidate in the Senate primary there in Texas, says that he is dropping his bid. He is now going to launch a bid to run again for Congress in the House in one of the newly redrawn districts there in Texas, the 33rd congressional district. But the speculation is that he might be doing this in part because we're also awaiting an announcement from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who also has to make a decision about whether she is going to run again for the House or potentially launch a bid for the Senate. So by Colin Allred stepping down, that certainly potentially clears a path for Crockett perhaps to run for Senate. But Allred,
can we get the likes to 100, guys? Can we double tap that screen? If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. Most definitely subscribe to the channel.
A statement said he didn't think that it was useful to have a Democratic primary there in Texas. So again, we'll have to wait and see what Congresswoman Crockett decides to do. That announcement expected in Dallas later this afternoon, Vlad.
All right, Nicole Killian for us.
All right, so then we heard basically the president's response. More on Marjorie, as she has done another interview talking about some text messages with Trump.
It has to be a hard place for someone that is constantly so hateful and puts so much vitriol, name calling, and really tells lies.
Green is joining us now live for her first CNN interview since announcing her plans to resign from the House of Representatives. Congresswoman, thanks very much for coming in. Lots going on. Yeah. This is Pamela Brown, not Pamela Green. Just want to make that clear.
And she has a beautiful name.
She has a beautiful name.
Thank you. I'm proud of my last name.
That's right.
And your name is Green, not Brown.
That's right.
I want to be precise. In addition to what we just heard there, President Trump posted yesterday that you are, quote, and I'm quoting him now, not America first or MAGA, and your, quote, new views are those of a very dumb person. That's the president of the United States speaking about you. What's your response to these latest attacks?
Well, actually, Wolf, I feel very sorry for President Trump.
I
genuinely do. It has to be a hard place for someone that is constantly so hateful and puts so much vitriol, name calling, and really tells lies about people in order to try to get his way or win some kind of fight. And I think that's exactly what's wrong in America today. That's what's wrong in this toxic political environment that has ripped our country apart. And I personally think that that's poor leadership from a president. It's a very bad demeanor, and Americans are very tired of it. And unfortunately, I also am concerned because I don't think the president's team nor the speaker have told the president about the legislation that I've introduced, that actually much of it directly literally aligns with the agenda that he campaigned on, I campaigned on in 2024. Many of my bills are actually his executive orders in legislative form. And if the speaker would pass my bills, if the President Trump were to sign them into law, guess what? His executive orders, which make him literally a temporary president, his executive orders, which are my bills, would become law. That would become permanent. And so I think it's very unfortunate.
Because when I hear him talk like that about you and insult you and attack you like that, I worry about your security and your family's security. And you've been getting some increasing threats, right?
Yes, and that's what I take so seriously. I, as a Christian, I'm not angry at the president. It's easy for me to say a prayer for him and forgive him. But the part that I have had a very hard time with is the fact that he called me a traitor. And because of his words, that brought serious threats against myself and my family. We had a pipe bomb threat on my home, a pipe bomb threat on my family construction company.
Wow, they sending pipe bomb threats at Marjorie Taylor Greene because she says and it's all Trump's fault because he called her a traitor. Wow.
And staff, and had multiple pizza doxings, but the serious one was the direct death threats on my son. And I think that goes beyond anyone's arguments or disagreements or politics. All of our children and our families' safety should matter to anyone, no matter if they're mad at us or disagree with us. I think that should be something we respect.
And when you told President Trump about this, can you tell us a little bit more about what his reaction was to these threats?
Yeah, it was shocking to me. I sent those death threats directly to him in a text message and informed him of what his name calling and words were doing, the direct result. And it was a direct assassination threat on my son. And he was extremely, I won't repeat what he said, but it was extremely unkind. No sympathy, no care.
I'm just wondering, I mean, obviously it would be good to hear what he said, but do you feel like you were duped? I mean, as you reflect on this moment and these attacks against you, you have been such a staunch supporter and ally of President Trump. Do you feel like you were duped by him?
I feel, maybe I don't know if I would use the word duped. I think it's unfortunate for the entire country. And I think the message is, and many people are saying it directly to me, if the president, because I stood with rape victims, women that were raped at 14 and 16, victims of Jeffrey Epstein and others, they claim that there are other men. Because I chose to stand with them, that's what caused the president that I fought so hard for to get elected. That's what caused him to call me a traitor. And I think what many people are saying to me is, if he would do this to you, he would do that to any of us. And that, I think, is a terrible message to be sent to the country. And many of the people that stood, goodness, hours in line for a MAGA rally that I went to, by the way, and went to many of those rallies and spoke at on behalf of him. I think that's a terrible message to send. I think our country has been in a state of crisis for many years now. And what I personally want to see happen is all the vitriol and toxic politics to be put away, and leaders to actually work for the American people.
How much do you think President Trump is responsible for the toxic politics? I know you've addressed your own role to my colleague Dana Bash, but what about Trump himself?
Oh, absolutely. He's a leader in it. And so were others on the other side. I mean, we can look, there was a weaponized Biden DOJ against the president and his family, and state AGs that went after his family. All of that is extremely toxic and dangerous in itself. I fully am totally against any type of weaponized justice system for politics.
Well, Keisha, let her tell it. She's already receiving unalive threats, so they might be trying to get at her for real. Just like you said, she might want to be careful. They might try to take her out the game.
Political purposes. However, it's the language that just continues it, and it's it's extremely unhealthy. It sets a bad example, but that's what has been created on I call it the political industrial complex. It's the two parties that are pitted against each other, and the president, he's a leader of that on the Republican side.
It's hard to believe a president of the United States is calling a fellow Republican congresswoman a traitor. I mean, it's pretty awful.
Wolf, I'll add to that. I have a 98% voting record with President Trump. 98%. I don't see how that can be a traitor.
Can you tell us anything more about what he said, though, when you told him about the death threats? Because I think that's telling.
I don't want to, at this time, directly repeat his words, but I can tell you in nature, I literally was shocked that he was so unkind and accusatory. There were other things that shocked me, though. I sent those same death threats to his chief of staff, Susie Wiles.
Can we get 15 more likes, guys? Double tap that screen. Let's get the likes past 100. If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen or click the three dots, hit that thumbs up. Hey, what's up with it, CB? I see you down there. She says, what's up, Mahalia Trump out here giving people the blues. It's sad. Man, Trump is doing whatever he wants, CB.
And his deputy chief of staff, James Blair, they didn't even reply to me. And I would have expected at least Susie Wiles, who's a woman, a mother, a grandmother, I would have expected her to have said, this is unacceptable. We'll send it to Kash Patel, or something of that nature. We'll make sure your family's safe. I would have expected those responses, not for them to take sides in any way. I understand they work
J.D.
directly.
Vance did respond, though, right?
J.D. Vance, I give a lot of credit to. He was very kind and caring about that. And I did send to Kash Patel, and he said on it.
Okay.
It's interesting, your Republican colleague, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, says in a new opinion piece that Speaker Mike Johnson, and I'm quoting her now, is better than his predecessor. The frustrations of being a rank-and-file House member are compounded as certain individuals or groups remain marginalized within the party, getting little say. Women will never be taken seriously until leadership decides to take us seriously. Speaker Johnson recently said he's the, quote, biggest champion of women GOP lawmakers. Do you predict that some sort of women's revolt in the Republican House conference could take place?
I read her op-ed and I thought it was masterfully written, and she's right. And this is something that I've been speaking out against for quite some time now. It is extremely frustrating as a rank-and-file Republican member in our majority, our Republican majority, that many of us women are not taken seriously, and our legislation is not taken seriously. I'll give you an example right now. Mike Johnson promised me that one of our it's in my bill, it's called Protect Children's Innocence Act. It's a key piece of legislation that is one of President Trump's top campaign promises, and that's to protect any child under the age of 18 from gender-affirming care. Our position is let these kids grow up. They need to grow up before they do any permanent changes to their body. Mike Johnson, that bill has passed through the Judiciary Committee. It is ready to go for a House floor vote. Johnson promised me a vote on it after the shutdown, and it has yet come to the floor.
Why do you think then Johnson says he is the biggest champion of women? And do you think that there could be more defections, particularly a revolt, as Wolf said, among women in the GOP?
Well, you're seeing it. I don't know how he can speak out of one side of his mouth, but his actions fully show the hypocrisy. Anna Paulina Luna, she has a discharge petition now on a bill that she fully believes in to change the way members of Congress are allowed to own stocks, and she has that in a discharge petition. Can't get the support from the speaker to bring it to the floor for a vote. But you've seen Elise Stefanik. She went to war with the speaker just last week over an amendment she had that was extremely important.
Hey,
so
Ms.
you're
Boober.
seeing Republican women lash out directly at the speaker because he sidelines us and doesn't take us seriously.
What's next for you? What are you
On
planning
Mike
on doing now that
Johnson
you're
neck.
leaving Congress?
A lot of happiness.
You were a big fundraiser in the GOP. I mean,
Yes, as a matter of fact, I paid my dues to the NRCC. Every single Congress raised hundreds of thousands of dollars more and paid in, supported many Republican candidates and raised money for them, but didn't get treated very well, unfortunately, not only by our Republican majority, but also, unfortunately, by the president, which I supported. I'm looking forward to seeing my family and friends a lot more.
You're going to have some happiness
you
indeed.
came and sat here and you said, I'm a lot happier now. Thank you for
Congresswoman,
your
thanks so
time.
much for coming in.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Marjorie Taylor Greene, guys, in her own words. The whole first segment, basically dedicated to her beef with Trump, guys, where she says she has received unalived threats. Her child has received unalived threats. Thank you, Ms. Pooh Bear. And that she's basically upset with Trump, behind his remarks of calling her a traitor. And that's where a lot of this stems from. And that's part of the reason why she stepped down from her seat, guys. It's crazy out here. It's crazy. All right, let's get to Caroline Leavitt. She's talking about how deprived people are. Check this out.
Well, today, President Trump taking his economic pitch to the voters, kicking off his affordability tour in the key swing state of Pennsylvania.
So what will he say? White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt joins us now live. Caroline, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So, Caroline, this is the president at his best when he's on the road talking with the American people. What can we anticipate him telling the folks on the road?
Sure. Well, we greatly look forward to going to Northeast Pennsylvania tonight, and President Trump is going to give a positive, economic-focused speech where he talks about all that he and his team has done to provide bigger paychecks and lower prices for the American people. And don't forget, a year ago, President Trump inherited the worst inflation crisis in modern American history from the Biden administration, and I have watched every single day as President Trump and his tremendous economic team have been working to fix it. And they have through a very simple economic formula, which President Trump will talk about tonight. Number one, tax cuts. Within 6 months, President Trump signed the largest middle-class tax cut in American history. No tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. And you'll hear stories of everyday Americans tonight who will benefit directly from those tax rebates next year. You look at the massive deregulatory effort from President Trump and his team, which is saving American households and small businesses money. And then, of course, unleashing American energy dominance, which is having a direct impact on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we have seen oil prices down 20%. In 22 states, the average price of gas is less than $2.75 a gallon. Gas prices are at their lowest point in 5 years. This is all thanks to President Trump's economic agenda. There's a lot more work to do, and he'll talk more about that tonight. But this is going to be President Trump's bread and butter issue, focused on the economy. Nobody knows it better than him.
Yeah, I think Republicans are hoping that the no tax on tips and all the ways that we're going to save in our taxes come April 15th next year, or whatever the date is, it's still April 15th, that we'll see our paychecks, we'll see more money in our pocketbooks, which will help the Republicans in the midterms. But these Democrats, they are running on the word affordability. I know Donald Trump has said it's a con job because we know that they want to raise taxes on the rich, and the way they're going to do this in free grocery stores and free buses, it's not going to work. But what should Republicans be saying? What should the Republican message be to combat what the Democrats are doing?
Well, the Democrats are the greatest con artists in American politics. They are pretending to champion the issue of affordability when they themselves created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. You can't create a problem and then turn around and say, I'm the best person to fix it. No, that's why President Trump was reelected, to fix it. And that's exactly what he's doing. So as President Trump has been screaming from the rooftops, Republicans need to remain tough and smart, and they need to be more vocal about touting the accomplishments of this administration. Again, inflation has slowed because of President Trump's economic policies. We see wages for the first time in 5 years are increasing by about $1,000 per the average American worker. We know wages were declining under this president. And as you mentioned, Ainsley, next spring, these tax rebates, that's real money back into the pockets of the American people, for workers who work overtime, for those who collect tips, for those who are on Social Security. They are going to see that money back in their pocketbooks. And every single Democrat on Capitol Hill voted against these historic tax cuts. So you can't say you're for the working man and woman when you vote to raise their taxes. The Republicans and President Trump have a proven economic formula and agenda that's working. Right. It's focused on bigger paychecks and lower prices, and that's what President Trump will talk about tonight.
I want to talk about Venezuela, but before we go, is it going to be just a one-off, or do you have other events planned for the next few weeks?
I think you'll see President Trump out there most definitely when it comes to the new year. Of course, we have Christmas coming up in a couple of weeks, but there's nobody that loves the American public more and being out there on the road than President Trump.
So let's talk about what Secretary of War Pete Hegseth will be briefing the Gang of Eight, select House leaders as well as Senate, about what's going on with Venezuela. And then, so of course, there's this pressure to release the double tap, the second hit on that drug boat. And ultimately, the president says it's up to the Secretary of War whether he should do it or not. So your thoughts about releasing that tape?
Well, how refreshing that we have a commander-in-chief who trusts our Secretary of War and trusts Pentagon leadership to do the right thing by our war fighters. And I think it speaks to the depravity of the Democrat Party that they have stooped so low. They are attacking our military leadership. They are attacking the brave men and women who conducted these strikes well within the law, following the orders from their commander-in-chief. And let's not forget, These are drug boats. These are narco terrorists. And in 2024, the GOP platform at the Republican Party convention, written by President Trump and his team, stated that we are going to, quote, demolish foreign drug cartels. President Trump campaigned on this. He is delivering on it. And every time President Trump and Secretary Hegseth and the White House are criticized for blowing up drug boats, we are thinking about Americans like Ann Funder, who lost her 15-year-old son, Weston, to a drug overdose. We are thinking of the hundreds of thousands of Americans across the country who have been riddled by this drug crisis in our own hemisphere, in our own backyard. And I think it's great President Trump is finally paying attention to it and taking strong action.
So real quickly, Caroline, there's a report in the Washington Post on Venezuelan Maduro. It says that he's shaken but still standing and plans to wait out Trump. This is what the source close to Maduro revealed. Deep down, they're nervous, but they think nothing will happen. They want to see how far Trump will go. Can they wait out Trump is the question, Caroline.
Well, Lawrence, I'm always quite hesitant to believe anything I read in the Washington Post these days. But I will tell you that I believe it's true that Nicolas Maduro is very scared, and he should be. Nicolas Maduro's illegitimate regime has been sending not only these illegal drugs to the United States, but also the worst of the worst criminals, inhumane murderers and drug traffickers. They unleashed our prisons into our country over the past 4 years, and Nicolas Maduro is now paying a very steep price for those consequences, just as President Trump promised he would.
If he doesn't go, does that mean that he ends up stronger because he was able to stare down the President of the United States? Is there pressure on this White House to get him out?
I think there is pressure for President Trump to deliver on what he said he would do, which is to take out the foreign drug cartels, and that's exactly what the president is focused on right now.
If he does that, Maduro loses all of this money, the drug money. Thank you so much, Caroline, for coming on with us.
One even more proxy.
All right, you know what I'm saying? So there they went with Caroline Leavitt. Now we have what's his name? I call him Governor Hot Wheels, which is Greg Abbott of Texas, guys. He has sided with Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's group. He most definitely talked about it. Let's go here. Why?
Always a good idea.
Governor Hot Wheels, CB.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to start out by thanking Josh with TPS USA for being here and thank him for his leadership and everything that he has helped to accomplish across the country as well as here in the state of Texas. And obviously, I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor who will be sharing more about what he's done, but I'll thank him now and thank him also later for his unique and extraordinary support and contribution to this entire effort. Also want to thank all of the TP USA members from all the different organizations from Texas who joined with us, as well as TP USA officials and others from across the country. To everybody from outside of the great state of Texas, welcome to the Texas Governor's Mansion. Also, I am especially proud of all of the Club America high school clubs and chapters, many of whom have leaders standing behind me right now. What they are doing on our high school campuses is truly transformative. This morning, I had...
Hold on, let's get right back to Governor Hot Wheels. We got Hakeem Jeffries, guys, giving a speech right now live.
Will
Let's
be
check out what he got to
unable
say.
to see a doctor when they need one, when their families need one, or when their children need one. House Democrats are going to continue to press our case. 214 Democrats, every single House Democrat, supports legislation to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits and has signed a discharge petition to force an up or down vote. All we need are 4 House Republicans. Just 4. The 219, all we need are 4 to join us. Keep your word.
He want to be Obama so bad.
That you are not going to let the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire. Questions?
What are you hoping to get sort of information from this Gang of 8 briefing? What are you hoping to share? And just follow up to that, there's a provision in the NDAA that restricts some of the Pentagon travel budget if the video of that double tap strike is not released. Do you think that is an appropriate leverage point to try to force the hand of the Secretary?
The full video of the double tap strike should be released to the American people.
They want to
so
release
that
it,
the American
guys.
people have an opportunity to determine for themselves whether that strike killing people who were shipwrecked and by all accounts were not presenting any threat to American military personnel, whether that kind of seemingly extrajudicial killing is consistent with American values. If Pete Hegseth and the administration think that their actions are justifiable, what are they hiding from the American people? Release the video.
Thanks, Leader Jeffries. Outside of healthcare, what would Democrats do differently from Republicans in an effort to lower prices?
Well, here's what we should do. We need to get rid of the Trump tariffs. And we cannot be confident that the Supreme Court will actually follow the law. Because rarely during the Trump presidency have they done that. Instead, they've just bent the knee to Donald Trump and his extreme agenda over and over and over again, notwithstanding the fact that lower courts and judges appointed by Democratic and Republican presidents have consistently tried to rein in Donald Trump's extremism, only to have the Supreme Court reverse course, as they just did in supporting a racially gerrymandered map in Texas. So what House Democrats will do immediately to try to drive down costs is to eradicate the Trump tariffs as they've currently been put into place. Why? Because everybody knows the Trump tariffs have increased costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars a year on grocery items and on goods that are needed to live a comfortable, quality life in America. So we can start there as it relates to dealing with the high cost of living in the United States of America. The other thing that House Democrats are committed to do is driving down housing costs. There's not a single thing that House Republicans or Senate Republicans or Donald Trump and his administration have done to address the housing crisis in the United States of America. We're almost at the end of the year. And the most significant expense that the American people have to deal with on a month-to-month basis is their housing costs, either their mortgage, home insurance, or their rent. And Donald Trump can't see fit to do a thing about it. House Republicans have done nothing to lower housing costs when the overwhelming majority of the American people know that housing costs are out of control in this country. And Donald Trump, the so-called builder, the so-called developer, nothing from him to actually make housing more affordable in the United States of America. So there are a lot of things that can be done better, but Republicans don't have the will to do it. That's the problem. They just don't have the will to do it because they'd rather reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks, just like what they did in the One Big Ugly Bill.
Leader Jeffries.
Right?
I want to ask about the AI commission that you announced this morning. Over the last couple of years, there have been several bipartisan task force reports, there have been reports on AI.
Yeah, CB is crazy.
What makes this different than the other previous commission's task forces reports on AI? And also, I spoke to a few, experts and scholars and academics about AI, and some of them are concerned that AI is going to follow the same road as social media, that Congress is still grappling with trying to figure out how to regulate social media 15, 20 years down the road, and have yet to do so meaningfully. We're years into AI, and there hasn't been any meaningful legislation passed into law. Do you share that concern? Is there a sense of urgency in Congress on the House Democratic side to actually get some legislation passed into law beyond these reports and task forces and commissions?
Well, artificial intelligence is a transformative technology that has the potential for so much incredible good,
Thank you,
particularly as
Nancy.
it relates to medical breakthroughs and providing high quality academic and educational excellence to people who live in communities that have historically been under-resourced for decades. We want to make sure that America can continue to lead in the growth and development of artificial intelligence related to our companies, as opposed to the Chinese being able to dominate this space. But at the same period of time, of course, it's important to figure out what are the appropriate policies that can be put into place by the Congress to make sure that there's a uniform set of standards across the country and that prevent bad actors from entering into the AI space and enabling them to do harm to the American people, something that no one should want to see. And so the House Democratic Commission on Artificial Intelligence and the Innovation Economy is going to engage in a thoughtful exploration so we can develop a set of policies in consultation with stakeholders all across the country, including experts within the industry space,
Hey, Karen.
because House Republicans have decided to abdicate their responsibility. We had a bipartisan task force that produced a very forward-looking report at the end of the last Congress. But Mike Johnson has decided to do nothing to actually re-engage. And so time is up. The year has ended. There's no interest from the other side of the aisle in actually doing something meaningful in this space, engaging meaningfully with experts and academics and stakeholders all across the country so we can do something thoughtful. And that's why we've decided to launch this commission, led, of course, by Ted Lieu, Josh Gottheimer, Valerie Foushee, and of course, as ex officio members, Zoe Lofgren and Frank Pallone. Thanks. You.
One of the most outspoken members of your caucus.
But with that voice, I hope you have a very thoughtful question.
Yes, very thoughtful. One of the most outspoken members of your caucus, Jasmine Crockett, announced to run for Senate on Monday. I'm curious what you make of that.
I haven't talked to Jasmine this week when she made the final decision to move forward, but she's an incredibly talented individual, a hard worker, and a fighter. She's going to be a very formidable candidate. Thanks. Second round.
Another question on AI, actually. President Trump has indicated that this week he's going to sign an executive order to sort of restrict states' abilities to regulate AI. Republicans in Congress tried to do a version of this over the summer with the reconciliation bill. The NDAA recently was talked about. I'm curious, just broadly, what you think of that idea. Do you think it's appropriate to try to preempt state-level AI laws in the absence of a more comprehensive federal framework?
Well, the Donald Trump my way or the highway approach on all the things, including artificial intelligence, is not in the best interest of the American people, and it's not even clear that he's got the lawful authority to do it. And of course, that's been the case over and over and over again. But Republicans bend the knee to Donald Trump. They just function in a cult-like fashion. And so as a result, what we've seen is Congress, in so many different areas, has advocated its responsibility to actually serve as a separate and co-equal branch of government. And instead, what Republicans do is that they just function as a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda over and over and over again. And so in this particular area, artificial intelligence, with its transformative potential to really bring a lot of societal good to the American people, while at the same period of time, Congress having a responsibility to make sure that we can prevent bad actors from harming everyday Americans, we need Congress in the game. And on the House Republican side, they refuse to do anything thoughtful, common sense, or bipartisan. And that really is the reason why we've launched this House Democratic Commission. Thanks.
Thanks, Richard. On ACA subsidies, we know you want a 3-year clean extension, but there is another plan out there introduced this morning, Brian Fitzpatrick, Golden, others, bipartisan. It's a 2-year with some eligibility limits. Is that something that you could support? And secondly, Mr. Fitzpatrick says he's got a discharge petition he's ready to unveil on that bill. Would you sign that discharge petition if yours remains a 2-vote?
There's one discharge petition that I'm committed to at the moment, and that's the 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which currently has 214 members of Congress on it. So all we need are 4 Republicans to join us. I haven't had an opportunity to review the legislation being put forth by Representative Fitzpatrick and Representative Golden. Of course, I'll take a look at it to see if there's anything meaningful there as it relates to a path to getting something done. But many of my Republican colleagues talk a lot, but they don't produce anything. And we saw this consistently during the One Big Ugly Bill debate. These very same Republicans, in many instances, were the ones who were saying under no circumstances were they going to cut Medicaid. And then almost every single one of them, with the exception of Representative Fitzpatrick and Representative Massey, every single one of them, other than those 2, voted to enact the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. And in the same bill, they ripped $186 billion away from SNAP. These people literally stole food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans, and all of this was done so they can enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors. And then they made those permanent. And now here we are, clock is ticking, in December, Affordable Care Act tax credits expire on the 31st, at the end of the month. And bills are still being introduced now? Listen, the most meaningful path forward, clearly, is for just a handful of Republicans to join us in the House, and for just a handful of Senate Republicans to vote in the next day or so on the bill that will be on the Senate floor that will extend the Affordable Care Act tax credit, so that tens of millions of people, including in dozens of Republican-controlled states, don't have their health care snatched away from them because it becomes unaffordable.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. 2 quick questions. One, as Democrats look to retake the majority in both chambers, are you planning to make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race? And 2, yesterday, Congresswoman Crockett said that she won't need to win all the Trump voters in order to win the Texas Senate race. And given that state is dominantly red, would you say that it's vital that any candidate projects their message across the board to every single voter in order to win the state?
Well, I think I'm obviously focused on the House, not the Senate, and we're only 3 seats short of taking back the majority, and we are going to take the majority back in the next Congress. The Republicans have been a disaster. They're totally on the run. They failed the American people. The cost of living is out of control. Democrats are the only group of people in this town and across the country actually interested in dealing with the affordability crisis. That's where our focus will continue to be. Donald Trump and Republicans don't even think that there is an affordability crisis. I mean, Donald Trump had the nerve to call it a hoax and a scam. Think about that. This guy just regularly lies to the American people. The same person who ran on affordability last year when he was trying to convince the American people to vote for him, and even said along with Republicans that they were going to lower the cost of living on day one, now says there is no affordability crisis. To me, that's what the American people are concerned about. Which party is actually committed to making their life better? That would be us, Democrats, as demonstrated last month in the off-year elections all across the country, which is why Democrats decisively won up and down the ballot. In terms of what's happening in Texas in the Senate race, before anyone gets to the general election, obviously there's going to be a competitive primary. And so we'll see what happens during the first Tuesday in March.
Do you think any endorsement from you might add fuel to that fire and help get it on?
We're still in the process of working through the House battlefield. So I've got no visibility into what we might do at any point into the future relative to the Senate. At the moment, we'll leave that to Chuck Schumer and the crew over there. You got it? You? Yeah. We'll go you and then we'll go to you. How's that work?
If Republicans try to pass the NDAA suspension, will Democrats provide enough votes for that to pass, and how would you?
Well, that's still going to be evaluated. We have a leadership meeting today at 5:15. Then we have a steering and policy meeting where we'll have that discussion at 6. And then we'll have a caucus meeting tomorrow where we'll hear a presentation about the NDAA as well as differing perspectives that might exist as to whether the bill has gone far enough at this particular moment to merit overwhelming support from the House Democratic Caucus. That remains to be seen.
I want to ask about Congressman Henry Cuellar. Now that he's been pardoned by President Trump, do you think it's appropriate for him to be brought back into the fold, to be given his appropriations title back?
It's my expectation, consistent with the rule that exists relative to this very issue, and as has been the case in past practice, that he would be restored to the ranking member subcommittee position that he's previously held. And it's my understanding that the Appropriations Committee on the Democratic side will be meeting to take that business up in short order.
Congressman Luna last night accused you of blocking her stock ban discharge petition. She said that you're stonewalling. Any comment or reaction to that?
Continue to double tap that screen, guys.
I've never had a conversation
double
with
tap
her.
if you're on a mobile device.
Know
Click
nothing
the three
about
dots,
her
hit that
commitment
thumbs
to this
up.
issue. And if she wants to lay out a path forward on this stock ban issue, where she parachuted in to the middle of it, she has not been part of the bipartisan conversations that have been ongoing, led on our side by Seth Magaziner, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, and Representative Pramila Jayapal, along with Joe Morelli, has not been part of those conversations. They've been led by Chip Roy. She parachutes into this situation. Nobody fully understands her intention. She's had zero conversation, as far as I can tell, with any of us. And so she's just shooting off at the mouth, as she always does. She's undermining her own credibility and position. If she wants to have a conversation, find me on the floor. It's Democrats who are actually serious about enacting a congressional stock ban. And we're committed to using every tool available to make sure that this happens. Why doesn't Representative Anna Paulina Luna go talk to the Deputy Speaker, Mike Johnson? He's the one that a few days ago said her discharge petition was dead on arrival. See, when she runs off at the mouth, she loses all credibility. Talk to your own team. We're committed to this effort on the House Democratic side. And as a matter of fact, if she's interested in dealing with corruption, do something about the active ongoing crime scene coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The most corrupt administration in American history, and it's not even close. And we don't hear a peep from her or any of her colleagues about even extending the stock ban to the executive branch, to Donald Trump, to J.D. Vance, or perhaps even to the Supreme Court. So we're committed to this issue as Democrats. We want to make it happen. The only open question about whether we're going to move forward and deal with this aspect of cleaning up corruption in this town, a congressional stock ban, is whether Republicans have the will to partner with us in a bipartisan way. Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys, so there was Hakeem Jeffries, on his stance in a lot of the things that are going on. Okay, you heard him speak specifically about this double tap, double strike that's going on with the Venezuelan boat situation, right? They asked Trump if Trump was willing to release the footage to the public. That's why he said he feels like the public needs to know. If you missed it, here's a short little situation with him saying that he said it, and then he turned around and said, hey, I didn't say it. I'm just saying, Trump, which one is it? Here you go when he announced it.
Well, Secretary Hegseth.
Whatever Hegseth wants to do.
No, not that one. Let me go back real quick. That's not the one I was looking for. Here we go, right here.
Drugs into the U.S. Tonight, President Trump saying his administration would.
I don't know.
Now listen.
But whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem.
It comes amid.
I don't know what they have, but what we have, we will release, no problem. Y'all heard it?
Controversial strike against an alleged cartel boat smuggling drugs into the U.S. Tonight, President Trump saying his administration would.
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem.
Now y'all heard that.
Bipartisan backlash to that double tap airstrike near Venezuela on September 2nd. 2 people survived the initial attack, but Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday told me he did not personally see the survivors and then moved on to another meeting while Admiral Frank Bradley ordered a second strike that killed all on board. President Trump tonight.
So to be clear, you support the decision to kill survivors after the...
No, I support the decision to knock out the boats, and whoever's piloting those boats, most of them are gone. But whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country.
Also tonight, there's new scrutiny on a passage in Hegseth's 2024 book where he described a briefing from lawyers to his troops in Iraq, afterwards telling his platoon to ignore legal advice that they could not shoot and kill an enemy combatant with a rocket-propelled grenade.
I told y'all Hegseth is under fire.
Hegseth says he told them, I will not allow that nonsense to filter into your brains. Men, if you see an enemy who you believe is a threat, you engage and destroy the threat. Meanwhile, a new Pentagon Inspector General report finding the information Hegseth shared on a group signal chat in March about a pending military operation in Yemen was considered secret. 2 people who have read the report tell NBC News, adding that had the information been intercepted by a foreign adversary, it would have imperiled American troops. The Watchdog report delivered to Congress also concluded Hegseth violated military regulations by using his personal phone for office business, though saying Hegseth had the power to declassify intelligence, according to the sources who read the findings.
Gabe, the Trump administration is responding to that Watchdog report?
Yes, Tom, they have a different interpretation. A Pentagon spokesman calling it a total exoneration. The White House also saying it affirms no classified information was leaked and operational security was not compromised, adding the president stands by Secretary Hegseth. Tom?
We thank you for watching, and remember,
So that was a brief of, I just wanted y'all to hear Trump say they had no problem. You know, he don't know what all the video has in it, but they're willing to release it, right? Well, he turned right around, after this and said, basically, he didn't say that. And I said, wow, check this out.
You said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
I didn't say that. Yes, you did.
September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
Yes, you did.
On September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
Say he didn't say that.
Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that.
Oh, my God.
You said that you would have no problem releasing the full bit. Okay, well, Secretary...
Hold on. Now, y'all hear that, right? Because we're going to come right back to it. I'm going to go right to the other one that I just showed y'all with him clear as day saying that whatever they have, we have no problem releasing it. And then he turned around and said, hey, I didn't say that.
To release.
We certainly release, no problem. Yeah, but whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem. Yeah, but whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem. Yeah, but whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem. Yeah, but whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem. Yeah, but whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem.
Okay, whatever they have, we'll release, no problem, to saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say that. Yes, you did.
Well, Secretary Hegseth...
Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
He has no problem releasing the full bit. Okay, well, Secretary Hegseth... Secretary Hegseth now says.
I didn't say that.
You said that. I didn't say that. This is ABC fake news.
You said that you would have no problem releasing the full bit. Okay, well, Secretary Hegseth.
Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
He now says it's under review. Are you ordering the secretary to release that full video?
Whatever he decides is okay with me.
So the president just moments ago at the White House says, quote, "I never said that." He was denying his past support for releasing the video that shows that now infamous double tap strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. So what did the president actually say last Wednesday in the Oval Office?
Let's see this.
You released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what
I
happened?
don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem.
Oh.
Last Wednesday, it was no problem. Now, apparently there is a problem. The president's comments stand in stark contrast to the now growing bipartisan support for releasing the video of that second strike from September 2nd. And today, tucked away in a must-pass defense bill, CNN found a provision that would limit Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's travel budget until he gives the Armed Services Committees in the House and the Senate the unedited video of the strikes.
Let's go.
Do you think that the video should be released in full to the American public, as President Trump has said he would support?
So I personally don't have any problem with it.
I think it's really important that this video be made public. The American public needs to judge for itself.
Everybody
All right,
wants
let's
the
get off the
video.
sidelines and head into the arena. My panel is here. We're also joined by CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes. So, Kristen, how is the White House explaining what is very clearly a total about-face?
Well, we've reached out, of course, about these remarks that just happened moments ago. We have not heard back on their interpretation of this complete about-face, as you noted. But a couple of things have changed since he first made those comments. One, we know that a bipartisan group of lawmakers has now seen that second video that wasn't released, and many of them condemned the video. Most of them Democrats, but there still was a lot of questions about the legal authority that was given to make those strikes. Now, the other part of this that is so fascinating to hear is President Trump, a president who, by all accounts, really tries to command his authority over every aspect of his administration, over every agency. In this moment, even though he has the full power as commander-in-chief to order that video to be released, is now saying that it's up to the Secretary of Defense. So you're seeing him put squarely on Pete Hegseth this decision to either release this video or not release this video. And that is something that should be noted. President Trump privately has said that he likely wouldn't have done the second strike. We know that he has said multiple times that Pete denied that he knew about these people being injured. So there are still a lot of questions here. And it is incredibly notable that President Trump is essentially passing the buck to Secretary Hegseth, who I will note just arrived at the White House about 5 minutes ago when it comes to this video.
All right, monitoring that. Kristen Holmes, thank you very much for that reporting. All right, joining us now in the arena to discuss Democratic Congressman from Colorado, Jason Crow. He's a former Army Ranger, and he now sits on the House Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, how do you explain the president's about-face on whether the video of the second strike should be released?
Well, there's nothing to explain, Casey. I mean, the only thing this administration appears to be good at is a cover-up. We don't have to have a debate about the video and what it shows and doesn't show. They can just release the video. And we happen to know that this Defense Department, Pete Hegseth, is actually very good at quickly releasing videos when he wants us to see what's in it, which is very telling, frankly, about why this one hasn't been released.
How do you explain the difference between what Jim Himes, the number 2 on the House Intelligence Committee, says about what's in the video versus Tom Cotton? They have totally different things to say about it. Cotton saying that it is entirely lawful what he saw. Is he telling the truth?
Yeah, here's how you explain the difference. You have Jim Himes, who's interested in the truth, in the law, in conducting congressional oversight, and you have Senator Cotton, who's interested in just appeasing Donald Trump. That's the difference, right? So, but again, we don't have to debate this. We don't have to have a back and forth. They can just release the video, much like I've been calling for them to release the Epstein files. People can see for themselves. You know, if this video is anywhere near what has been described to me, which is you have two unarmed, combat ineffective, stranded individuals who are holding on to a burning, sinking wreckage, who have been taken off the battlefield, and then a long time after the initial strike, another one is taken to kill them. There is no justification for that. You know, I'm a combat veteran. I've been in these situations before, and we learn from the very first days of our training that if someone's injured, if they are trying to surrender, if they are retreating, if they have been rendered combat ineffective, you would not only have a moral obligation, but a legal obligation to refrain from striking them.
The administration's defenders
What's up,
have
guys, man?
essentially tried to argue that there's something on the video that shows that these survivors were trying to stay in the fight. What would that look like? And is your understanding of the video that it shows anything like that?
Appreciate it.
No, my understanding is there's nothing remotely like that. In fact, some of the folks who have briefed Congress have refuted that account already. Again, what has been described to me, and I have no reason to believe that this is different, two individuals holding on to a burning, sinking wreckage over a long period of time. And I, again, see no justification for why you would kill those individuals. And here's why these rules matter, because everyone's like, well, these are drug runners and these are combatants. Here's why it matters. You know, the world came together and said there has to be some rule to govern POWs, prisoners, wounded people on the battlefield, because America also benefits from that. In every recent conflict we've had, Iraq, Afghanistan, the first Gulf War, Vietnam, American service members have been taken hostage, have needed aid on the battlefield, and we have benefited from those very same rules. Our men and women that can benefit from them. So we break those rules, and we are putting our own service members at risk in the future.
Congressman, the global war on terror did in some ways see the United States of America adjusting some of the way these rules or versions of them were applied. I mean, President Obama came in for not an inconsiderable amount of criticism for the way he used drones, for example. Pete Hegseth over the weekend said, quote, "These narco-terrorists are the Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere." Do you think that's the correct assessment? And what does it mean that he's putting it that way?
Yeah, what it means is they've learned nothing from the last 20 years of our failed military interventions and adventurism, right? We spent 20 years, $3 trillion, 7,000 American lives, 2 decades of lost opportunity, tens of thousands of Americans who now have suffered the visible and invisible scars of those battles and those wars, and they ended poorly, right? So what that tells me is that if something was wrong then, it's also wrong now. And why in God's name would we be using a counterterrorism or nation-building construct to do any of this, right? Because why? We're so damn good at counterterrorism operations? Is that the lesson from the last 20 years? Or that we're great at regime change or nation-building? This administration hasn't seen a problem that they don't believe they can solve by dropping a bomb on somebody. And it is turning their back on all of the lessons that me and others learned in a really hard way in the last 20 years.
Do you think that these groups pose anywhere near the same danger to the United States of America as Al-Qaeda?
Well, here's the deal. America deserves actual, real counter-drugs strategy. You know, tens of thousands of our kids are dying by fentanyl. This administration is actually doing nothing about that, right? Not a single one of these strikes have targeted fentanyl. Like, that's a shocking fact. And it hasn't done anything to disrupt air routes, to disrupt land routes, to disrupt the demand within the United States. There is no counter-drug strategy for this administration, and America deserves better than that. Our children deserve a real strategy. What this is a performative exercise where Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth want to show videos of wooden votes being blown up. And oh, by the way, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to do that. And it's not actually going to solve the problem. We have been fighting the war on drugs in this nation for 70 years. And this is the same old, tried model that has failed. We need something real and something serious.
All right, hold on. All right, so that was a little bit on the boat strikes, right? If it's not anything in there that's bad, let the American people see it, right? And that's how some of our representatives feel as well. Check this out.
House Armed Services Committee. It's good to have you back on the show. So you heard the president say it should be just up to Pete Hegseth. Since you and other Democrats feel strongly the American people should see the video of that second strike, is there anything you can do to get it released, or is it just wait and see what the defense secretary does?
The American people should see it, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. They've released, gosh, I don't know, 15, 20 videos now of boat strikes. It's very easy to edit out any part that might jeopardize any sort of classified information or sources and methods. This video should be released. It's also, I mean, worth noting, President Trump's desire to just sort of remake reality, I really hope we never get to the point where we simply accept that. I mean, how can we have a president say, you know, no problem, I'll release it? No, I never said that.
The boat strike files is turning into the Epstein files.
Let's go, ladies. But there's no reason not to release it. Yes, right at the moment, that is in the power of the president and Secretary of Defense. And what we can do is we can put public pressure on them. By not releasing it, they are making it clear that they can't defend what's on that tape.
Wow.
We have to keep that public pressure up. I would hope that at some point Congress would be willing to subpoena it to basically force them to release it. But that's going to be difficult with the Republicans in the majority in the House and the Senate. But we are going to keep pressing this very, very important issue.
So do you think it actually is up to Pete Hegseth, or do you think ultimately that decision is only that of President Trump?
Well, it's up to the president, first and foremost. He can certainly designate it. He can certainly say, yeah, I leave it up to you. But he is, well, the president. He's in charge. He could make the call on that. He could certainly order it be released, just like he could order the Epstein files to actually be released. He's choosing not to and allowing Secretary Hegseth to make that decision. And as I said, I think Secretary Hegseth is reluctant to release it because if the public actually saw the video as I did, they would find what a lot of Republicans, the president and Secretary Hegseth, have been saying is just patently ridiculous.
So I have to ask you, because of
describing what's in that video.
Because of what you just said, I have to ask you, how do you account for the fact that other members of Congress have emerged with very different accounts of what actually they say they witnessed? I mean, they could not be more diametrically opposed. What's going on?
Well, let's go back to where your interview started here. Donald Trump on tape, what, 2 days ago, maybe less, saying, no problem, absolutely going to release it. And then today, I never said that. That's fake news. So,
and he most definitely said it. That's crazy.
Where you decide that facts are what you say they're going to be. This is a central tenet of Donald Trump's philosophy. The truth is what I say it is, all right? So it's not hard to believe whatsoever that MAGA supporting, Trump supporting Republicans would take the same tact and say the truth is what I say it is. You know, I heard a quote from Senator Cotton last night that basically they were not disabled, the two people in this boat were not disabled in any way. Their boat got blown up, set on fire. It's cut in half. It is now capsized. All that's left of it is the bow, which they are hanging onto. I think they were a little bit incapacitated. So let's show the video. Let's let people see. None of which is to make a final judgment, by the way, on was this strike legal or not. But the way the Republicans have been describing it to justify that legality simply isn't true or accurate.
MS Now reports that your office is expecting a call from the commander of U.S. Southern Command, who was reportedly forced out after he raised concerns about the legality of these strikes. Are you going to have that call? What do you hope to learn from him?
Yeah, we're going to have that call. It's a classified call. I hope to learn what was the chain of command and what his opinion about the legality of that orders. Those orders. And please don't misunderstand what I said a second ago. I'm not saying this was lawful. I'm just saying we need a full investigation. We need to get to the facts. What I saw is deeply concerning to me. I think it warrants an investigation, and that investigation could quite easily conclude that this was an unlawful strike. Admiral Halsey
you,
has
Rika.
unique insight on that, both in terms of the chain of command, who made what decisions, and what was the justification for it? What was the legal justification? And remember, the Office of Legal Counsel memo that justified the legality of the strike wasn't actually written in final form until September 5th. This strike happened on September 2nd, before they had actually formalized the legal justification for any of these strikes. So there are serious doubts about whether or not they made an effort to follow the law and did in fact follow the law in carrying out this mission.
And there was an interview that Dr. Burns did with the president for Politico, and he was asked about the boat strikes. I think these are his most recent comments. Take a listen.
Should he testify, Pete Hegseth, under oath before Congress about that controversial second strike on the alleged drug boat on
I don't care if he does.
2nd?
He can if he wants. I don't care.
Do you think he should?
I don't care. I would say do it if you want.
Do you believe that
It's
that
not
second
pretty,
strike
but-
was necessary?
Well, it looked like they were trying to turn back over the boat, but I don't get involved in that. That's up to them. Every time we knock out a boat, we save 25,000 American lives.
So would you consider doing something similar with Mexico and Colombia that are even more responsible for fentanyl trafficking into the U.S.?
Sure.
So the president repeated his claim that every one of those strikes is saving not just American lives, but very specifically 25,000 lives. And you also heard him talking about the potential of doing something with Mexico and Colombia. I just wonder what your reaction is. First, do you have any evidence that you've seen to back up 25,000 lives? And what about the possibility of expanding?
Yeah, it's classic Trump. I mean, first of all, he takes no responsibility. I don't know, I might, but who am I? I'm just the president of the United States. It's not my thing, someone else is going to decide. So he ducks any responsibility for the consequences of his decisions, and then he makes stuff up. There is no way one boat with however much cocaine was in it saves 25,000 lives. Again, no fentanyl involved here. Yes, overdoses from cocaine happen. They are vastly rarer than overdoses from fentanyl. Furthermore, we don't know where this boat was going. We don't even know if that cocaine was headed to the United States of America. And I really want to emphasize,
and reports say
drugs
that it
are a
wasn't.
major problem in the U.S. We should work harder to prevent them from coming in, to prevent people from abusing them. But the idea that blowing up a few boats off the coast of Venezuela is going to fundamentally change that equation is completely wrong, particularly when the president continues to pardon convicted drug dealers and undermine the effort to stop it. What we need to do is work with partners in the region, like we did with Colombia 20 years ago, and make an effort to block these drugs. And we also need to follow the law. Do we really want the president of the United States to be judge, jury, and executioner, institute the death penalty for anybody involved with drugs with no due process, with no probable cause? That's what this issue is about. I wish the president and secretary of defense would take accountability and actually clearly explain their policy and how it's connected to helping our country.
Congressman Adam Smith, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Okay, so we heard from the Congressman Adam Smith on his views. Okay, so today, Congress, basically the Republicans and the Democrats, basically had a verbal spar, guys, over healthcare and these boat strikes. Senator Throne, however you say his name, as well as Chuck Schumer. Let's check them out.
They repeatedly rebuffed recommendations to ease the border crisis. Well, Mr. President, I'm glad that the New York Times is finally reporting what we've known for a long time, and that is that the Biden administration was completely uninterested in solving the border crisis. Fortunately, those days are over. When President Trump and Republicans took control this year, we moved to quickly restore order at the southern border. And the numbers speak for themselves. Customs and Border Protection reported a record low number of encounters in November. Fewer than 250 people per day.
If you're in the building, can we take time to double tap that screen, guys? The likes are extremely low. 700 people, 166 likes. Let's double tap that screen if we're on a mobile device, or click those three dots in the right-hand corner and hit the thumbs up, guys. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you are new, guys. This is everything we know regarding these boat strikes and the Republicans and the Democrats going back and forth, on the floor about health care. as well as the boat strikes.
Being apprehended. Compare that to the Biden administration, where law enforcement was catching more than 5,000 per day on average. And in November, for the 7th month in a row, 0 illegal immigrants have been released in the United States. So under the Trump administration, we have a 95% drop in apprehensions at the southern border. And not a single one of the individuals apprehended is being released into the country. Mr. President, this is remarkable progress. This is what the American people expect
when it
comes to securing our borders. And Republicans are doing everything we can to ensure that this will be the new standard for border security for a long time to come. Our One Big Beautiful Bill, which we passed in July, makes a generational investment in the resources that law enforcement needs to secure the border and deter illegal immigration. We funded completion of the border wall, new technology and equipment for law enforcement, additional Border Patrol agents, expanded detention capacity, and expanded partnerships with local law enforcement to enforce immigration law. Mr. President, these investments are beginning to be...
We are 40 subscribers away, guys, from 57K subscribers. If you in the building haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Road to 57K. We need 40 more subscribers, guys.
Implemented across the immigration system. Hiring efforts are underway to bring on additional agents. More than 1,000 state and local law enforcement agencies have partnered with the federal government to enforce immigration laws through the 287G program. And the Department of Homeland Security is awarding contracts for new technologies in wall construction at the southern border. Investments that will improve law enforcement's ability to apprehend the illegal immigrants and smugglers who attempt to cross our southern border. Mr. President, Republicans promised to secure the border. We wasted no time in delivering on that promise. And thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, the American people can be certain that border security is here to stay. I'm grateful to the men and women on the front lines who come to work every day committed to a safer and a more secure America. And Republicans will continue to work to ensure that they have everything they need to get the job done. Mr. President, I yield the floor. And I suggest you have...
All right, so now we got Chuck Schumer coming up.
Going to play out those very brief remarks there from Senator Thune as he was speaking there ahead of Thursday's vote on the Affordable Care Act tax credit, which is set to expire at the end of the year. And I also want to put this up on your screen. This is from Fox's Chad Pergram. He's doing some reporting there behind the scenes on Capitol Hill, covering this very issue. He says Thune makes no commitment to having a vote on the GOP health care this week. Calls say that Dems are not a calling this not a lawmaking exercise. Says the GOP will decide later today if they want to move something Thursday along with the Dem plan. And so again, we'll continue to watch this reporting that's happening behind the scenes there on Capitol Hill as the conversation around healthcare continues. Let's slide away for yet another 2-minute commercial break. On the other side, we'll play out the remarks from across the aisle as we were expecting to listen in to some of these from Chuck Schumer. I want to put this up on your screen as well from his X account, saying this week Republicans have a choice to make. Support our bill for a clean 3-year extension of the ACA tax credits or send premiums through the roof for millions of Americans. We'll have those we're listening to happen.
Tonight being their Costco people, Donald Trump will travel to Pennsylvania and try to convince the American people that he's lowering their costs. But the American people, seeing their costs go up left and right, aren't going to buy it. Tonight, Donald Trump will throw a barrel of hay into the audience and tell them it's spun gold. But the American people know he's lying, because everywhere they look, prices are going up and up and up. We've all read how the White House very soon will start getting, quote, serious about messaging more on affordability. They don't get it. The problem is that affordability is not a messaging issue, it's real. It's real when people go to the supermarket or buy a car or try to buy a house or see their electric bills, their health care bills. The American people know it's real, and Donald Trump tries to wish it away. He believes that people will believe his words when he says it's a hoax. They won't. They won't. There aren't enough speeches in the world to paper over the fact that Donald Trump has sent costs up and up, not down. His tariffs raised the price of groceries, raised the price of clothing, raised the price of energy. And it's not just his tariffs. It's his policies that cut out the cheapest form of energy we have, clean energy. It's his policies that allow food producers to get away with monopoly pricing. It's his strategy to impose tariffs on the American people and say it's good for you. The fact is, Donald Trump can do nothing to erase this. That life is more expensive under Donald Trump than it was before he took office. He'll hate to admit it, but life is more expensive under Donald Trump than it was under Joe Biden. Just 36% of the Americans approve of his job and the job he's doing on the economy. 36% of Americans, that's it, approve the job Trump is doing on the economy, according to a poll by Marquette University, which is widely respected. Even a significant portion of Trump voters, 37%, say the cost of living is the worst they can ever remember, according to Politico. So when Trump voters say it was better under Biden than it is now, whoa, something's wrong. So no, Donald Trump, affordability is not a hoax. It's not a Democratic scam. You try to make everything, even the most common sense things, partisan. The affordability crisis is very real. It's being felt by everyone, and the American people know it's Donald Trump's fault. No speech in Pennsylvania or anywhere else can undo that. But I have good news for the president. He and the Republicans do have one chance left to do something meaningful about lowering costs, something real, not a speech, something real. And that is to work with Democrats to extend the enhanced ACA premium tax credits before they expire at the end of the year. Democrats have put forth a simple proposal for a clean 3-year extension of the ACA credits. We will move forward on this bill on Thursday. Senate Republicans have 2 days to choose to vote to lower the American people's health care costs or to vote to continue sending those costs through the roof. That's what's at stake on this vote. If our bill becomes law, it will accomplish the single most important thing we can do right now to lower prices, prevent premiums from tens of millions of Americans from shooting through the roof. We have an obligation to act now. Now, if Republicans are left to their own devices, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that they fix this health care crisis on their own. Republicans are nowhere, by their own admission. Leader Thune has come down to the floor day after day excoriating the ACA. He brings a lot of charts. He has quotes at the ready, on and on and on. But he doesn't have a plan. He has no proposal. Charts are not a plan, Leader Thune. It's not enough for Republicans to say that they don't like the ACA. That's not a secret. We know that. They've been trying to get rid of it since 2008. They nearly succeeded until the courage of John McCain stopped them in 2019. The real question is, what will Republicans do to prevent premiums from skyrocketing in 3 weeks? And so far, we've heard no real answer. The only ideas we've heard from Republicans are loaded with poison pills, unworkable restrictions, and don't do anything to bring premiums down, which is most important. None of their proposals address extending the ACA credits, the most important thing we can do now. And so it's not, those kind of proposals don't get the American people's support or Democrats' support. The party is adrift at sea. The Republican Party is adrift at sea, trying to find a plan, and so far we've heard no serious plan at all. And that's not just me saying it. Here's what a Republican senator said yesterday. He said, I mean, what signal will it send to if Republicans say we're going to say no to the Democrats' plan, but we're not going to offer anything? The message that will send is good luck to the American people. We don't really care, unquote. That's from a Republican senator. I couldn't have said it better myself. So Republicans should join us on Thursday. Vote yes on our proposal, extend the ACA tax credits by 3 years, and greatly reduce the specter of premiums going up and up and up. On chips, this one's an amazing one. Donald Trump is just selling out America for his own ego and his own gain. That's what he's doing on chips. When yesterday Donald Trump announced he was giving the green light to NVIDIA to send even more powerful AI chips to China, the H200, which are used to train AI models. Let's be clear. You can't claim to be tough on China if you willingly sell them some of the most advanced chips in the world so they can use it to strengthen their military. People on both sides of the aisle are aghast that Trump would do this. Does he think it through? Does he care about what will happen tomorrow or just his little announcement today? Donald Trump's announcement selling these chips to China is dangerous. They'll use them to strengthen their military. Their technological...
If you haven't hit that like button, guys, double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. Most definitely helps out the channel to get the likes up. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new.
Edge, all at the expense of American and world national security. Even Donald Trump's own Department of Justice warned about the dangers of these chips making their way to China. Here's what they said, Department of Justice, DOJ, when they acted against a chip smuggling operation yesterday. Quote, this is Trump's Justice Department. Quote, they said, these chips are the building blocks of AI superiority and are integral to modern military applications. The country that controls these chips will control AI technology. The country that controls AI technology will control the future. Donald Trump, you're letting China control our future. You're selling us out. All so you can have a little one-day ego gain of making some kind of announcement, which no one's going to believe anyway. Donald Trump should listen to his own DOJ about the danger of giving China these chips before cutting stupid deals that cost America dearly in the years to come. But unfortunately, this is textbook Donald Trump. He is so desperate to get a deal with President Xi so he can get that photo op that he will sell out America's long-term security for a short-term political gain. This sellout is not only going to hurt us, it's going to hurt our children and our grandchildren as China begins to dominate the world in AI. And then he comes up with this tawdry deal where he says NVIDIA makes money and the U.S. makes money. The short-term gain of dollars from selling these chips is so much outweighed by the danger when China takes the lead on AI using the chips that were made in America and sold to them by Donald Trump. So I ask one question. Where's the outrage from my Republican colleagues? Are they just going to sit by while Donald Trump sells America out to Xi Jinping? That's what's going on here. The chips deal is terrible. It will cost our national security dearly, and the president must reverse course before it's too late. On the NDAA and Hegseth. Well, today, as has already been widely reported, Secretary Hegseth and top administration officials will hold a classified briefing for the Gang of Eight. At the Gang of Eight hearing, I will ask Secretary Hegseth directly, will he commit to providing all senators access to the unedited tapes of the September 2nd boat strike? Again, Hegseth, will you commit, with no BS, to providing all senators with access to the unedited tapes of the September 2nd boat strike? Because the longer the White House and the Pentagon hold on to the tapes, the more the American people are wondering, what are Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth trying to cover up? Are they lying to the American people, or are they just trying to hide their incompetence? No one in the administration can seem to get its story straight. Last week, Donald Trump said he'd have, quote, no problem releasing the full video of the strike. Then yesterday, he walked back his statement, claiming he never said it and it was fake ABC News. You know, Donald Trump
most definitely said it.
Doesn't like what he said. He made a mistake, and then he says it's fake news. But he said it. And the American people heard it, and it's on tape. And then he blames one of the networks for simply broadcasting what he said. What is going on in this country, and how do we let this man do what he does, destroying our values, our morals, of the fact that America has always been an honest country? So let me be clear. The only thing that can bring more clarity to the American people is the full release of the unedited tapes. Plain and simple. Republicans and Democrats in Congress agree. That's why there's a provision in the most recent version of the NDA that demands a release of the unedited tapes to Congress. And if the Pentagon fails to hand over those tapes, Pete Hegseth's travel budget will be slashed by 25% until he complies. That was a bipartisan shot across the bow to Donald Trump. Hand over the tapes. Done by Republicans. I salute them for their courage in bucking him and bucking Hegseth. The inclusion of this NDAA provision restricting travel shows Congress is united in wanting to see these tapes as soon as possible. And both Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth must comply, say the Republican senators, or the DOD is penalized. I strongly support this provision and worked with Senator Reid, Senator Wicker, and others to keep it in. I hope it will compel Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth to do the right thing, release the tapes, give the American people the transparency we all deserve. Yield the floor.
All right, so we heard Schumer basically speak on the boat strikes, right? Well, with all of this going on, man, you know, Hegseth says that he will sit down with the Gang of Eight to basically talk about the decision that was made to do the boat strikes. Check this out.
Yeah, we know that.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will be on Capitol Hill this afternoon. He's briefing the group of top lawmakers known as the Gang of Eight on a lethal attack on a suspected drug boat that some are calling a war crime. The early September operation targeted survivors of a strike in the Caribbean. Today's meeting also comes as President Trump refuses to rule out a ground invasion. CBS News congressional reporter Torian Small is on Capitol Hill with more. Torian, what do we know about the agenda for today's meeting, and what kind of pressure could the defense secretary face to release video of the second strike?
Yeah, we know Venezuela is likely to be the top topic today as lawmakers known as the Gang of Eight, bipartisan members from both the House and Senate, are set to confer with not just Secretary Hegseth, but also Secretary Marco Rubio and other top Trump officials. This is set to be a pretty intense meeting considering there's been trepidation about Hegseth's leadership, not just in how he's handled these boat strikes, but also the ouster of several members of the Department of Defense in the days since. Now, we know that lots of Republican lawmakers are also looking to hear his version of events after an admiral who was painted as the person who made the call by the Trump administration talked to lawmakers last week in a classified behind closed door meeting with members of the Armed Services Committee. We also know that this will be a continuing conversation as not just Democrats, but Republicans have also hinted at wanting Hegseth to have a public hearing, public testimony before Congress on this matter as well, Lindsay.
Well, and the Senate is set to vote this week on a Democratic health care plan that became a key tenet to ending the recent government shutdown. Last night, 2 Republican senators presented a new proposal, but this is about health savings accounts. This is an idea that echoes something we've heard from the president. So what's in this Republican-backed plan? How does it differ from what Democrats want?
Yeah, Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana is leading that effort there. He's looking at having the federal government infuse cash into Americans' health savings accounts. So he wants to focus on individuals rather than insurers. That's something that directly echoes what the Trump White House has been saying, especially Donald Trump himself in that interview with Politico. But we know that that's just one of many proposals currently up in the air here. Other Republicans are looking at extending the Biden-era COVID or COVID-era Biden administration's subsidies, tax subsidies for Obamacare. One that just came out this morning was one by a bipartisan effort in the House, but led by Representative Fitzpatrick. There is looking to extend it to 2027. There are also several other versions of that bill that would see some limitations on who's eligible for this. Ultimately, though, we know the Senate Democrats' version of the bill, which is set to get a vote this week, would be a 3-year extension. Pretty much the same here. It's unclear, though, Lindsay, whether or not they could find consensus with Republicans to get that across the finish line.
Torian Small, thank you.
All right, so basically that's him. They saying that Hegseth is gonna sit down in front of the gang of 8 guys and basically tell his side of what went on with the boat strikes, guys. Which brings us to the next situation. The top military general
for Africa, but
is basically, and he ain't the first one. Another general has came out and basically said that what Hegseth done was an alleged war crime, guys. Check this out.
this second strike, which killed the survivors, is still being hidden by the administration. NBC reports Admiral Frank Bradley, who oversaw the attack, has told lawmakers that they concluded the boat was not actually heading to the United States at all, that it was going towards a South
wasn't even
American
coming to
country,
America.
and the alleged drugs on the boat were actually intended for a different continent, possibly Europe or Africa, but not the U.S. NBC has 2 U.S. officials and 1 person familiar with the briefings on that point, which of course explodes the entire rationale for the U.S. doing anything to that boat. Would expect at a minimum a review of the intelligence, and then also questions about whether the United States was in the right legal or moral position to kill all those people if it had nothing to do with our country. Bradley said Hegseth ordered the military to kill all 11 people. There was an internal list of that the U.S. has of what they believe are narco-terrorists, and thus they could be lethally targeted. That echoes the drone war era, where decisions made in Washington on paper quickly become a rationale for killing without any trial or process.
Exactly,
Quote, while the survivors were not armed, Bradley said the mission identified the drugs as the threat to the U.S. Just imagine how expansive a kill authorization could be if you accept that. This is why we have laws of war, and again, we're not yet at war with this country, but if you can say that drugs, which of course are perhaps sadly trafficked all over the world, are the rationale as the threat, and it doesn't matter whether they're coming to the U.S., and the people on board don't have to be attacking the U.S., but that threat allows you to kill a bunch of people without declaring war or having a trial or doing intelligence, well, that's a license to kill everywhere. The Atlantic also has reporting about the second video. Apparently these lawmakers and a couple service members have been able to see. It discusses footage of the 2 men's desperate final moments, which made some viewers nauseous, leading one to nearly vomit. Again, you don't know until you've seen it how it might feel to watch someone who could be, again, we haven't seen the video, a protected survivor pleading for help, holding wreckage in the ocean, then being blown to smithereens. Hegseth continues to defend the strike using the language of counter-terror, but will not say that what they will do about this video, which, if it is valid or helps their case, you would expect they would want it released.
From what I understood then and what I understand now, I fully support that strike. I would have made the same call myself.
President Trump said he would have no problem if the full video of the strike is released. When can we see that video? When will you release it?
We're reviewing it right now.
Reviewing what? There's nothing to see. Put it out.
These are defenses that don't really wash. They release the videos they think help them. They hide the videos that they think hurt them. And then they say that they're reviewing it. I mean, it's all part of one operation, obviously. The hiding leads to the scrutiny and concerns of a cover-up of a war crime, alleged. Republicans who viewed the video, we should note, have defended the strike, so there may be some partisan difference there or just a difference on viewing the evidence. There is, however, growing concern. Releasing part of the video, but not the key part, is a strange strategy for them. And now there's a push to have lawmakers with specific orders behind the attacks get the unedited video. Here's Senator Schiff.
Constitutional, and killing two people who were shipwrecked at sea is also morally repugnant.
Belinda,
if
for
the
being a member for
Pentagon
the
and our
last
defense
11
secretary is so
months.
proud of what they're doing, how can people see
Thank
two people
you.
standing on a capsized boat or sitting on a capsized boat and deliberately killed and decide for themselves whether they're proud of what the country is doing?
That's a fair request and standard, and a lot's changed in our life in politics. Lots changed in how people get information. We know all that, but this is an important country because it touches on core questions that haven't changed because of the internet or the MAGA era. A lot of people have connections to the military in our country. You got a lot of military households, a lot of other people who interact with the military, a lot of people who have a family member or an ancestor who served bravely, and there is both pride and recognition of what our military can be and how it should be. And if there is a belief, or here we have reports and evidence, that the politicians who have come in are changing things and putting the military in harm's way or demanding it do things of which it should not do, banned by the Uniform Code of Military Justice, executing shipwreck survivors, as some of the accounts report, a lot of people think that's a big problem. And just playing tough or saying this is how it is now or this is MAGA is not cutting it. We also know the issue's breaking through because everybody's heard about it and it's become a national kind of punchline, even amidst the grim background. Saturday Night Live making fun of
Thank you, Lars,
the
everywhere.
country's defense secretary.
Well, to answer your question, if I was just playing Army, would there be 80 dead fishermen, narco-terrorists in Venezuela right now? Next question.
Yeah, so is 80 the official death toll?
Well, is 80 the official? No, it's 67, 67. Idiot.
We're back now with retired four-star General Wesley Clark, the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander.
Thank you, Lars, everywhere.
Your view on where the military stands and needs to go on this boat attack.
First of all, I think we need to see all of the evidence. That evidence is not out there yet. The video certainly is important. Also, the orders that were given to Admiral Bradley by Secretary Hegseth. There should be an operations plan with orders in it, and it would have rules of engagement in it. Even though the Secretary said he doesn't respect them, legally there's always rules of engagement in there. It's really hard to make a judgment until you've seen those things. Right now, it's split along partisan lines. I understand that. That's the way the chief or the chain of command, and obviously you have to do that within the bounds of the law. And as far as
All right. So let's shift gears from here. All right, so that was the Admiral basically speaking on the boat strikes. Now, it's a lot going on. All right, so Ghislaine, however you say her name, Maxwell, a federal judge has granted the DOJ's request to unseal her documents, guys. So it looks like we're one step closer to the Epstein thing with Ghislaine Maxwell court docs being unsealed, guys. A federal judge allowed it. Let's go.
Our breaking news just coming in at CNN right now. A federal judge in New York has just granted the U.S. Justice Department's request to unseal records from the investigation and criminal prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell, of course, was an associate of Jeffrey Epstein. The ruling opens the door for the department to publicly release evidence it had gathered against Maxwell. The trove of documents includes grand jury transcripts, financial records, travel documents, and notes from victim interviews obtained during the investigations. We're just getting Ellie Honig to give us some legal analysis right now on this Justice Department decision to release a whole bunch of documents involving Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who was involved with Epstein, as all of us know. What's your sense? When are these documents going to be released, and how significant are they?
Well, so these are the grand jury materials that relate to the Justice Department through the Southern District of New York's prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell, which happened primarily in 2020. Now, DOJ had gone to this judge, Judge Paul Engelmeyer, before a few months ago and asked for permission to unseal the grand jury materials. At that time, the judge denied the request because grand jury materials are ordinarily supposed to be confidential. And the judge said, I don't see any compelling reason why we need to change that. Now, what has changed, however, is that Congress has passed and the president has signed this Epstein Files Transparency Act, which essentially overrides the normal concerns about grand jury confidentiality. So the judge today has said, well, in light of this law that's been passed, I now order that the grand jury materials should be released. Now, as to what's in them, we have a little bit of a clue, Wolf, because when Judge Engelmeyer denied the initial request a few months ago, he said essentially, there's really not much that's new in these files. Most of what's in the grand jury materials is already known to the public through the indictment of Ghislaine Maxwell, through her extensive trial, through the briefs that the parties submitted, through the evidence at the trial. So I don't think we should expect, based on that, to see anything brand new and shocking. But what we will see is what evidence did prosecutors put in front of the grand jury? What testimony did this FBI agent give around the case? It'll give us some more visibility into how the Maxwell case happened.
And I just want to be precise and correct. This was a federal judge who ordered the release of these documents, not the Justice Department. Ellie, is the Justice Department clearly going to obey what this federal judge has just ordered?
Oh, for sure. Yes. So prosecutors do not have the ability to release grand jury materials on their own. The process is, in the rare instance where a prosecutor, DOJ, is seeking to release grand jury materials, you have to go back to the judge and get special permission. The judge, Engelmeyer, has now ordered that, yes, DOJ, you can and must release those documents. DOJ has to. The law that was passed a few weeks ago requires DOJ to do this. The judge has now signed off. So everything is now in place. Those materials will be released. As to the when, Wolf, the law that was passed gave DOJ 30 days to release the Epstein materials. Day 30 is this coming Friday, which will be December 19th. So presumably DOJ, if they follow the law, will make at least the first bulk of those public disclosures a week and change from today. December 19th is sort of the key day to watch.
All right, stand by, Elia. Caitlin Polantz has been doing a lot of reporting on all of this. What do we anticipate, Caitlin? How significant will these documents be?
Well, Wolf and Pam, one of the things that Ellie just said is that this judge, Judge Paul Engelmeyer in the Southern District of New York, he has already looked at these documents once. This is the second time around where the Justice Department has come to him and asked for the unsealing of these records. And the first time he looked at them and said, not much is here that isn't out there already publicly, because these are the grand jury records from the federal criminal case against Ghislaine Maxwell, who did ultimately go to trial and was convicted. And so much of what may be in this material are the types of things that would have come out at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, things like financial records, travel documents. Those are the things that are specified in the court order today as what may be in these grand jury records. We do know, though, another important point that the judge indicates here in this order this morning, saying, yeah, now that Congress has passed a law, we can unseal these grand jury records, even though you asked once before and the judge said no. In this round, whenever these grand jury records come out, the judge says that there will need to be some redactions made here to protect victim privacy, specifically information about victims and personally identifiable information. So this is the Justice Department taking a step forward, going back to the court now that Congress has passed that act of transparency to release the Epstein files. The Justice Department going to court and getting some of the bulk of the records, but this is by no means what everybody has wanted to see, which is the full FBI file. This is just what's in the hands of the court and what is very likely already largely out there.
All right. Well, we shall see, but this is certainly a significant development. It's unusual for a judge to allow the release of grand jury documents. All right.
Wow, guys. So we got Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, basically her files are about to be released as far as what took place with her in court, guys. Crazy. waiting on I've been waiting on Pete Hegseth, you know, to basically come. They waiting on him, or the people who he gave his speech to about why he did what he did with the strikes. I've been waiting on them to come out, man. They've been about an hour just sitting down there waiting on the lawmakers to exit so they can get an interview, guys. So that's kind of why I've been keeping it going. I was hoping, you know, that he would come on out, they would come on out and speak on it. But it's taking forever for them to come out. You know, the boat strike situation is crazy, y'all. It is crazy. What do y'all think? Did they commit a war crime or no? So as we continue to wait on them to come out, let's go here. We got Jasmine Crockett, guys, of Texas. She's running for a Senate seat. They predicting that this could be fairly entertaining. No, she be on Trump top, guys.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is getting into the Texas Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate with the help of President Trump. Well, here's her new campaign launch video.
She's a very low IQ person.
Trump says she got a very low
Somebody
IQ.
said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding. Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
The news comes after former Congressman Colin Allred dropped out of the race this morning. My panel's here to discuss. Karen, what do you think of that launch video?
I love it. Good for her. It's different, right? I mean, this is in this media environment, you got to break through, and that's one way to break through. And she clearly understands, at least to start in a primary, right? You got to raise money. And how do you raise money? You raise money by saying, this is the guy we're going to be fighting against, right? So I thought it was great. I love it.
And here's
And
what
she looks gorgeous, by the way.
Here's what former Congressman Allred, former NFL player, told CNN's Dana Bash earlier today about his decision to withdraw his bid for Senate and run for a House seat instead. Take a listen.
Jasmine Crockett is very openly considering running. Is that part of why you decided to not run anymore?
Yeah, of course it is. And I think, listen, Jasmine's a friend of mine, and we've served together. I've known her since before we were both, in elected office. But it was about the fact that with, three strong candidates running, that we would certainly have a runoff.
So this does leave the Democratic primary field open right now, pretty much between State Representative James Tallarico, who we had on the show last week, and now Congresswoman Crockett. Who do you think will be the stronger Democrat to take on the Republican? And it's not just a throwaway because it's Texas, because it does look like the Republicans in Texas are not going to stick with their incumbent Senator John Cornyn, and they're going to go with a guy who's got a lot more baggage.
It's probably going to be Ken Paxton. I'd be surprised if Cornyn figured out a way to pull it out. The hat out of the bag, as they say. But I was talking to someone who's close to the Congresswoman, and they made two interesting points to me. If it is Kim Paxton, they personally believe that Jasmine Crockett, according to some early internal data, would be a more superior candidate than Tallarico. Two, Texas has the largest number of black voters of any southern state, which I actually did not know. I was just made aware of this. And so they're looking at those dynamics, and they're saying, hey, we think we could have a competitive opportunity to potentially win the state. Now, as a conservative, I am a bit worried about Paxton. I think we should stick with Cornyn. That would be in our best interest, but it doesn't appear to be what Texas voters want, Jake. And so if that's the decision that they choose, it's going to be a tough race ahead.
Well, let's talk about that. The polls on the Republican side, recent polls show the incumbent Senator John Cornyn. He's running behind Attorney General Paxton and Congressman Wesley Hunt, who's something of a conservative firebrand as well. How do you see all the math on this? I mean, there is an argument to be made that maybe Democrats should go with a more centrist candidate if the seat is actually up for grabs. I'm not saying I'm making it.
No, agreed. And look, that is going to be what you hear from, I would argue, probably the party committees, right? Because they like to play it safe. But here's the thing about someone like a Jasmine Crockett. Number one, she is going to excite new voters and potentially, depending upon how they're thinking about the race, take a look at the state and say, how do I get those black voters who aren't voting, who aren't registered? Let's get them registered. Let's get them engaged. Let's do the same thing with Latino voters. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, it feels like, I mean, to say Ken Paxton has baggage is a very generous way to say it, right? And so the Republican side is going to have a conversation about, well, which do we want? What do we want to defend? The status quo, the baggage? What are we doing here? And particularly in an era where, let's be clear, Republicans are going to have a tough year next year. The economy is not necessarily going to get better. Inflation is still high. The cost that people are spending right now at Christmas time, running up their credit card debt, is going to hit them next year. So it's going to be a tough year for Republicans.
So, Michael, what is the problem with Cornyn? He's a very conservative Republican. He's an establishment figure by now. Why is the MAGA base against him?
I think that Paxton, for a lot of MAGA voters in Texas, appear more closely aligned with President Trump in terms of his rhetoric. But I will add, even individuals like Chris LaCivita, co-campaign chair or co-campaign manager of the president's recent presidential campaign, he's even been on X talking pretty relentlessly about the need for Republicans to support Cornyn over Paxton and over the congressman. I mean, I think he's even said a couple of weeks ago the congressman should just get out of the race all together. Wesley Hunt. Yeah. And so it shows you that even those close to the president recognize the importance of this seat. They don't want to give Paxton the opportunity to lose the seat to someone like Jasmine Crockett. And I know there's a lot that one could say about the Congresswoman on my side, but I do not underestimate her at all. I think she is very articulate in terms of her political skills, and her ability to mobilize voters, Black and Hispanics, is something that as a Republican strategist, I am watching.
Where are Democrats on whether they have any shot? I mean, the pipe dream of turning Texas blue or winning a statewide federal office out of Texas for Democrats, it's repeated and frequently fails. We'll let Mo mention. Wade into this.
Yeah, he can do the history, but it's been like 3 decades since they won a statewide race in Texas, a Senate seat in Texas. This does seem like a prime opportunity. The Republican side is.
We are 9 subscribers away from 57K, guys. If you're in the building and haven't subscribed to the channel, hey, Money Mo, make sure you subscribe, guys. We need 9 more subscribers to hit 57K. We are 3 likes away from 250. On that like, double tap your screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. Shout out to everybody that hit that like button. Shout out to everybody that's subscribing.
Is messy. Jasmine Crockett has high name recognition. She also has a lot of remarks that Republicans are excited to use against her. Cornyn, earlier when she was talking about it, Senator Cornyn was already goading her to get in, saying, "Run, Jasmine, run." So I think she's divisive. They want to paint her as like too far left. She kind of really popped on the national stage when she did that bad built bleach blonde.
Well, yeah, we can watch that. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that moment, just because it helps explain, especially in kind of our celebrity political culture, part of why Jasmine Crockett has stood out on the stage. Here is the confrontation between her and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing. Hold on. I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
That was a great moment in last year's Congress. Look, she went viral after that. Biden, I remember, sent out a fundraising email with like BBBB as the subject line. They used her after the debate in the spin room. So that kind of launched her on the national stage. But there is a lot of comments that she has made about immigration that are just going to be easy to pound her with. I actually was surprised that she's strong enough that Colin Allred gets out because she gets in. That actually caught me by surprise today. I thought, I didn't see that was an obvious, she wipes him out.
7 more subscribers, guys. 7 more subscribers.
To me, that she was out in the field with an internal poll, and she basically said, "Look, if this poll comes back in my favor, I'm going to run, and if it doesn't, I won't." Which is actually how these decisions get made, but people rarely say it in public. I mean, Mo, what do you think her chances are?
I don't know. First, she's got to Allred's out, but she still has a competitive primary here, right? James Tallarico, state legislator, is still in this race. He's been building a real strong grassroots movement. When everyone thought it was going to be Allred versus Tallow, that's what they were touting, was his grassroots fundraising, his grassroots organizing. She certainly brings quite a bit to the race too. So I think the Democratic primary, if you're just a student of politics, is still going to be a really fascinating primary to watch. And the Republicans are a mess. I mean, John Cornyn is no shoe-in for renomination with sort of MAGA favorite Ken Paxton
it's
running.
worth kind of running through for viewers who are not in the weeds with the rest of us, right? On the we can put up who's running in these primaries. The Republican primary, Senator John Cornyn, long-standing member of Senate leadership. Okay, he's been around Washington a long time. He's done a lot of legislation, including working with Chris Murphy and other Democrats on some gun-related package that in some ways opened him up to challenges from the right. The Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is that right-wing challenge. Now, Paxton, Doug High, has a heck of a lot of baggage because he, of course, was, the subject of investigation, criminal investigation. And there are a lot of Republicans in Texas who don't want him to run, but he's doing it anyway, right? So that's the backdrop against which Democrats think.
We need 6 more subscribers, guys, till 57K. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, man.
Well, maybe we have a shot here.
Yeah, we often hear don't mess with Texas. The reality is Texas is a mess. And it's a mess in both parties.
That's good.
Thank you.
You can't mess with Texas because it's
And it's a mess on both sides. I mean, you've just outlaid there. I follow John Cornyn on Twitter, and he talks about Crooked Ken almost every 10 minutes. There's a lot of baggage on that side, but it is still Texas. It is still a Republican state. And if we go down to 2nd Street Northeast, where the Republican Senatorial Committee is, they are very happy that Jasmine.
All right, we got action. This is Hexef. This is live. The 8 that he spoke to. What's going on? Okay.
Secretary of Defense, Hexef.
This is about the boat strike, guys. What is going on? Their stuff is messing up. It ain't mine.
Okay, it was a very unsatisfying briefing.
He said it was a very unsatisfying briefing. This is theirs, not mine. I don't know what's going on.
Satisfied.
Hold on.
Were you able to see the video?
Dang, it skipped all the way through Bernie's. Oh, man, I'm mad.
Okay, it was a very unsatisfying briefing.
Wow.
Secretary of Defense, Hexef.
Let me see if I can find another spot that's showing this. Maybe we can get it without it messing up. Been waiting all this time and then it mess up.
Congress ought to be able to see it. I told him that.
Let me see if I can find another one.
Democrat and Republican had a right to see it, wanted to see it, and should see it. In terms of Venezuela, I asked them what their strategy is, and
that's them, not me.
Satisfied.
Were you able to see the video? Did you see the video, sir? What's up, guys?
Well, we've just had
and it's steady doing
issue surrounding.
They need to fix their cameras. It ain't on my end, guys. It's on their end.
Substance of it.
Wow, they've been sitting out there the whole time, camera running smooth as everything. Now when the people come out, now their camera's messed up.
Immediate moments.
Wow. Wow, guys. I don't know. Trying to see what in the entire world is going on.
Can't take it back. But I've requested documents.
Wow.
Or JAG opinions about whether the overall legal opinion was in any way changed after the September 2nd attack.
Let me see if I can find another source real quick.
Got those answers. I did not get a refusal but I got,
Ah, that just disappointed me, guys. Ooh, that just made me mad. I can't believe it.
all of this is not going to be shared with the American public. Members of Congress need to make judgments, and videos themselves need to be seen, I believe, by the American public. At the very least.
As to how should maybe to actually putting.
Hold on while I try to find a different source real quick.
Into any of the particulars. Mexico.
Hold on, I may have found us a better source. Give me a second. I got us. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got a better source. Let's go here. I don't know what's wrong with their cameras.
The video when there's might be action. I've got a lot of questions.
Hold on. I got to go back to Schumer. I want to hear what he said.
Boots on the ground.
Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen. Get the likes up. Yeah, this ain't even about no numbers. I want to hear what he said. Let's get back to Schumer.
Edited video. Okay, it was a very unsatisfying briefing. I asked Secretary Hegseth, Secretary of Defense Hegseth, would he let every member of Congress see the unedited videos of the September 2nd strike? His answer, we have to study it. Well, in my view, they studied it long enough, and Congress ought to be able to see it. I told him that every member of Congress, so many members of Congress, Democrat and Republican, had a right to see it, wanted to see it, and should see it. In terms of Venezuela, I asked them what their strategy is, and
we need 5 more subscribers, guys, to hit 57K. Subscribe.
Did you see the video, sir? Well, we've just had another briefing on the issues surrounding the strikes in the Caribbean and other actions in the region. And before I get to the substance of it, I continue to think that the whole underlying basis and effect of equating a boat or an entity that has drugs onto the same as, in a sense, terrorists that have guns or bombs, I find problematic. I found the two areas that I'm most focused on right now is the video that I saw last week. I believe the American people deserve to see. And even if you would argue, well, there are sources and methods, I'm not sure I accept that argument, but sure as hell, at least members of Congress ought to see, because they all have appropriate clearances. And it's a little strange where administration officials say, well, we can release edited versions of videos that they like to brag about, but then not at least show the immediate moments up to and including the second strike that took place on September 2nd. In addition, and as I said last week, I'm very reluctant to reach a final conclusion about what was legal or appropriate or not, because once you reach those
4 more subscribers to 57K, guys. 4 more of y'all subscribe.
I've requested documents around execution orders, around communications, around JAG opinions, about whether the overall legal opinion was in any way changed after the September 2nd attack, and then when the briefing was finished or the legal briefing was finished on September 5th. So far, I've not got those answers. I did not get a complete refusal, but I got inadequate answers that I've got to have.
Terrible.
Members of Congress to
What's
share
up,
with us.
Rena?
For that matter, if all of this is not going to be shared with the American public, members of Congress need to make judgments, and we've got to have all those documents. And sure as heck, the videos themselves.
2 more subscribers, guys. 2 subs away. 2 more of y'all subscribe to the channel, man.
Senator Warren, were you given some impression as to how close the administration?
This is the gang of 8 guys responding to the testimony by Pete Hegseth regarding those boat strikes.
I'm not going to get into any of the particulars on this briefing. You know, as we know, most of the drugs, because again, we're not talking about fentanyl. Let's be clear. That is still, it comes into Mexico. That is the item that it kills the most Americans. This is about cocaine, bad as well. Almost all of that cocaine originates in Colombia and Ecuador.
We just hit 57K, guys. Shout out to everybody that subscribed.
That connections between the Maduro regime, and Maduro's a bad guy, leads to potential action. I've got a lot of questions, and those questions were not answered.
Senator, did the Secretary of State give you an update on the status of reviewing the video? He said that he's reviewing it before he can
That is, I got the question, or he said he's still on a review process. But again,
thank you, Ms. Karen.
Secretary, all the benefit of the doubt, and say, you know, under this multi-hour video, some parts might be fall into that category, which I don't believe I would accept. But how you can suddenly say, well, we're going to release videos of a boat and then our strike action, but we're not willing to release the video when the survivors are identified before a strike takes place, in my mind, doesn't pass any kind of smell test on any kind of difference there.
Was the video shown again in this briefing?
No, it was not.
Did you see the timeline for when you would
No, it was not. No, it did not.
Did they commit to providing the exhorts or provide any other rationale for not providing them?
Well, no.
Hey, Miss Pauline, absolutely.
I made my request last week when Chairman of Joint Chiefs Kane was there, and I felt he and Admiral Bradley were forthcoming last week. I've still got a lot of questions. I reiterated those written documents, like the JAG opinion, after action report, the actual order, the execution order that was given, whether the legal opinion justifying the whole policy was in any way changed between the September 2nd strike and September 5th when it was written. I got the notion that they are still considering all that, but for someone who recognizes how critically important this decision is, particularly when you're talking about American military potentially taking actions that are not appropriate under international law, I want to be proven that that was not the case. And that's why I want my colleagues to see the video. I think the public ought to see the video, and it's why I want to see these documents so that I don't make any rash judgment. People making rash judgment on this issue because it's so important. I think.
What's up, Panda?
I'm worried about it. Again, I have great respect for our military and the professionalism. And again, I feel like they have been put in kind of an untenable situation. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, my phone about to get up out of here. If you ain't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We just hit 57K today, guys. My phone is on 10%. That means it's about to unalive. Y'all got to charge it up. But yeah, man, we went over everything. The boat strikes. Pete Hegseth is still in hot water when it comes to that, guys, which forced him to do basically like this question and answer with the gang of 8 guys. He had to answer up for some of the things he did. Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, most definitely her documents are being released. we seen Marjorie Taylor Greene, guys, basically do an interview with 60 Minutes where she broke down that Trump was basically the reason why she stepped down. Basically saying he threatened her life and that basically, well, what he said led to threats on her life. Not that he actually did it himself, let me correct that. But also threats on her son. We most definitely talk about their back and forth. And we most definitely talked about Pete Hegseth and the boat strikes, guys. So we covered everything in the title. Man, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. You know, most definitely will be live tomorrow with more. May come back a little bit later because Trump is supposed to give a speech today. And I'm pretty sure that the questioning or the interviews that they're giving as they walk out of there aren't done yet. So we may follow up with that a little bit later, you know. But as far as everything news, we most definitely bring you everything news, man. You know, whatever catches my attention, I bring it to y'all. I hope it caught y'all attention. Shout out to the old subscribers as well as the new ones. Like I said, we just hit 57K subscribers, guys. Yeah, from 1 to 57K, we doing great. Man, shout out to all of my members. Most definitely appreciate each and every one of y'all. Y'all keep me motivated to keep this show going. And most definitely shout out to my moderators, guys. Shout out to my moderators for keeping that chat running smooth. I know sometimes it get a little crazy down there, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And with that being said, y'all know what time it is. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. Y'all stay safe. I'll see y'all on the next one. Thank you, Rika, for the congratulations, man. We working hard, and it's paying off. Shout out to everybody in the building. I'm gone.